Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jennifer Ngomalo. I do hope that you join us. That is if you enjoy the content that I serve in this channel. In this channel we do financial content, we do personal financial content, lifestyle content, as well as career content. So if any of those are your favorite pillars, please make sure that you join us. We'd love to have you. And also don't forget to smash that like button because it does help with the YouTube algorithm. And also welcome to each and every one of you that has recently joined this channel. I really appreciate that you guys took the time to actually click that subscribe button, and I'm hoping that you did that because you really enjoy my content. And so I hope that you stick around and that you find something of value in my channel. With that being said, today we are going to be talking about places that I think that it's crucial that you make sure that your money is going to these things. As you know that you guys, I have a payday routine that every time when I get paid, I just make sure that these things are happening. And the role of that is just to make sure that my money is going to places that it needs to go to. And this helps me to make sure that I achieve my goals, that I work towards my goals. And so I want to share some of the 5 things that I think that they are very important for you to ensure that your money goes towards, just to make sure that you secure your life and also secure your finances, as well as work towards your financial goals. So I'm going to take you through those 5 points, and let's start with the first one. So we are going to assume here that if you are working a 9 to 5, the rule of tax in this country is that, and I'm referencing South Africa, so the rule of tax is that tax is deducted before your money reaches your bank account. And so I'm assuming that if you are working a 9 to 5 job, your taxes are already deducted by the time we are going to be touching these points. And I know that some of these things as well, if you are working in certain sectors in the country, they are already deducted. But it's just to say that, okay, some of these things you need to make sure that they are done. If you are working for yourself, this is different. You pay taxes after. If you are working for yourself, I would say that the first point is you need to make sure that you, from the money that you get paid, you deduct your taxes. So that is the first thing. The next thing that you do is you make sure that you are contributing towards your pension fund, your retirement. The pension fund is for you when you retire. So let's say, for instance, you have worked for certain years. You're just making sure that by the time you retire, there are funds that are waiting for you. Now, you need to make sure that you take advantage of that. Now, in most organizations, there is an employer match. So whatever that you contribute, your employer will match it. I know that in government, that's the case. What I contribute towards my pension, then the employer matches that. And also another thing, if let's say, for instance, you don't have these things whereby your employer contributes towards your pension, but you should also have some sort of a retirement fund. So if you are working, you should have some sort of a retirement fund. So the retirement fund you can find with financial institutions like Ellen Gray. You can find with Momentum, you can find with Sanlam, you can find with a lot of financial institutions. I would advise, okay, let me refrain from that. I'm not a financial advisor, I'm just Jennifer. So my suggestion, not my advice, my suggestion would be go with financial institutions, not insurance companies. Do your research in terms of the places that you would like to put your retirement fund, your retirement fund, or they call it retirement annuity. So that's the first thing that I would say if you're working your 9 to 5 and already the tax is deducted that you need to look at. If you're working for yourself, same thing. After you have put aside money for tax from the salary from the money that you made in that month, you also make sure that your money goes towards your retirement. So you need to have a retirement annuity so that you just protect your future self, man. Just to make sure that in the event whereby it comes a time whereby you are old and you can't be working, that you have resources that are put aside. The next thing that I would do is to just pay minimum towards my debt. Now this is to people that have debts like myself, and so what I make sure that I do is that my debts are paid for, especially the ones that I know of. So I know that I own a property, and so I'm paying for that, and I know that I owe NSFAS, and so I pay towards that per month. Another debt that I have is my MTN contract. I make sure that each and every month there is money that goes towards that. So what I would suggest is make sure that each and every month when you get paid, you pay minimum. You don't have to worry yourself about paying additional, just for the fact that, okay, you are making sure that your ducks are on the roll. And to make sure that your ducks are on the roll is, you know that you are owing 500 towards, let's say, Vodacom. You make sure that each and every month, a minimum of that, which is 500 that you are supposed to pay, is going towards paying for Vodacom. If you have a personal loan and maybe let's say you pay 2.5 per month, make sure that 2.5 goes towards paying for that thing. The reason why you want to do that is you want to make sure that you're on top of your responsibilities when it comes to your debt. Now, your debt it determines your credit score. So if you make sure that you pay for things on time, you make sure it allows you for your credit score to always be on the healthy side rather on the bad side, whereby it's on the red. You don't want your credit score to be on the red. And if you miss your minimum payments, if you miss your month, so let's say for instance you were supposed to pay in June and you did not pay your minimum, it will reflect on your credit score and it will decrease your credit score. Now, this is very important that you maintain this healthy credit score. And by the way, your credit score is not determined by how many debts you have, but rather the ones that you have, are you paying minimum on? And so my suggestion here is make sure that each and every month you are showing up and paying for your debts that you know. Make sure that you are paying, if there's a debt that you know, pay for it on time and make sure that you pay the money that you are required to pay each and every month. And then the third thing that I would do, which is also something that I do, is I save towards my emergency fund. Now, you could be saving towards something else, but for me, because I do not have a fully funded emergency fund, and when I say a fully funded emergency fund, we're talking about 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. Now, because I have we will call it a secured job, because I work in government, there isn't really a high possibility of me just losing my job unless I get myself involved in corruption and so on, and then there's a chance that I'll just lose my job. It does not mean that I am immune to life unexpected events. And so what I do is I am trying to build my emergency fund, and as I said, it is 3 to 6 months. Now, for people that work a 9 to 5, that is more so secured. 3 months is a suggested time frame that you would want to save your living expenses in. 6 months will be for someone that is self-employed, and that is because your area of work is not really so-called safe. And I'm putting inverted commas because, you know, we really don't know what is safe and what is not, or what is secured and what is not secured. And so because you're working for yourself, you really do not know, you really cannot predict the future as much. Most of the time, the money that you make is based on the amount of work that you put in. And when you are working a 9 to 5, most of the time it is already predetermined based on the hours that you're supposed to be working in that month. And so if you have a 9 to 5, 3 months is advisable. And then if you're working for yourself, then it would be 6 months. So your living expenses, when we are talking about your living expenses, guys, we are not talking about, let's say for instance you get paid 30,000. It does not mean that each month of your emergency fund should be 30,000. It means that you need to sit down and look at your living expenses, the things that are necessary for you, the necessities, not the wants. So here we're looking at water and electricity, we're looking at school fees, we're looking at transportation, we're looking at food, we're looking at all the things that are necessary for you in order for you to have a good living standard while whatever is happening in your life. And normally when we are saving for emergency fund, we're looking at, in case you lose your job, you need to be able to survive for at least 3 to 6 months while you look for another job. So you want to calculate your living expenses, not all your entire salary, or not like, so let's say for instance, after you've gotten paid, you've put money for your pension. What you want to do is you want to then say, okay, how many debts do I have? And then what are my living expenses? And then you put those things together, and that would be your 1 month of emergency fund that you need to have. For me, when I calculated it, it's around 15,000-ish that I need to have as my 1 month of emergency fund. And so that is what I'm working towards. So right now, I would say that I've got 2 months because I just hit the 30,000 mark. So I've got 2 months, and then I have 1 more month to go. Then I can say I have a fully funded emergency fund. If I do decide to take it up to 4 or 5 months, that will be my decision. But at least so long as I have 3 months worth of savings, that I can say these are my emergency fund. This is my emergency fund. So I would really suggest that you look into that. And then the fourth thing that I do, and I would also advise you to do, or to just make sure that it is done, is making sure that you are paying for your necessities. Now, when we are talking about necessities, it is relevant to what I was talking about when I say living expenses that you need to save towards to accumulate your your emergency fund. So now here you need to make sure that each and every month you are paying for your necessities. When we're talking of necessities, we're talking of your transport. So let's say your transport to work, we're talking about your transport maybe for your kids to school, we're talking of school fees if you are paying monthly, we're talking of food that you need to buy in the house, we're talking of water and electricity. If you own a property, we're talking of rates and levies. Those are all necessities. Now things like Wi-Fi, it's not a necessity. Things like data, it is not a necessity. Things like DSTV, it is not a necessity. All of those things are wants. It's not something that we can't live without. And so you want to prioritize things that you really need in order for you to maintain a good living standard. And so you need to then make sure that you are paying for those things and that they have money that is allocated to it. Ne? And so for me, one of the things that has been helping me with this is just using the cash budget, whereby I look at some of these things and then as I allocate cash towards them, it allows me to track within the month my spending on these things, especially on things like transport, petrol, as well as food. And once you have paid for your necessities, now you want to then tally up everything and then see how much is left. So from everything that you have paid for, minus it from the money that you got and paid for that month, or you received in that month, and then whatever money that is now left, this is where the fun becomes. This is where budgeting becomes fun, or just having a payday routine becomes fun, because now we're talking of the fact that you have paid for all these things and you have disposable income. Now the question becomes, what do you do with this disposable income? What do you do with this money that is left? We have contributed towards your pension, your retirement fund. You have also prioritized paying for your debt, your minimum repayments. You've also prioritized saving each and in that month. You have also paid for your necessities. Now that you have money that is left, hoping that you have money that is left, because as I said, this is where the fun comes, whereby now you have to decide, which, okay, now that I have these resources that are left, this disposable income that is left, what do I want to do with it? So once you have paid for your necessities and the things that are not necessities that I want, this is what I am going to pay for. So let's say, for instance, you've got DSTV, you're going to pay towards that. You've got Wi-Fi, you're going to pay towards that. And then if there's money that is still left after you've done that, after you have allocated money towards your wants, maybe let's say, for instance, you've also allocated money for going out, for just indulging, or maybe let's say, for instance, you've allocated money for yourself. Now let's look at how much money is left after that. If there's still money that is left after that, I will then say that look at your debts. If you're a person that has debts right now, look at your debts and see which debt can you attack. So let's say, for instance, you are left with 1,000. After you've paid for everything, you've allocated money in their right places, and now you are left with 1,000 as a disposable income. I would say that look at the debts that you have and see where you can pay additional. So let's say, for instance, you've got 3 debts and you have the lowest to the highest. What I would do is I would look at the lowest and maybe let's say, for instance, I would attack that first. Or let's say it's the highest one where you pay per month in terms of installment, and maybe you start attacking the highest one. Or let's say, for instance, you've got the highest interest rates and the lowest interest rates. You look at the one that costs you the most and maybe you attack the one that costs you the most, the one with the highest interest rate. And so you double down on that one. And so you take this 1,000 and you say, okay, I'm going to take 500 rands off this 1,000 and I'm going to attack this debt each and every month. So from your minimum repayment that you are making, now you are adding an additional 500 rands that you are going to be putting towards this debt. And so you will do this until you are done with your debt, or you just do it until you feel like you do it each and every month if there's always money that is left for your disposable income. Now let's say, for instance, it happens that you do not have debts, because there are people who do not have debts. Let's say, for instance, you don't have debts right now. However, you do find yourself with 1,000 grand that is disposable to you. My suggestion here also is look at the savings that you can be doing, investments and savings options that you can be doing. Not savings whereby you have to commit yourself that each and every month you have to put this amount, because once you do that, it makes it some sort of a strict process for you. So you want some sort of savings whereby it is according to availability of resources that you put money into those things. Now I know that Time Bank does allow for that. There's no strict rules when it comes to how you save when it comes to Time Bank. So long as you have that money in that month, you just put it towards that goal. So you go in there, you create a goal and say, okay, I want to save towards this, and then each and every month when there's disposable income, you get to decide how much of that disposable income are you going to save. So let's say, for instance, as I said, you are left with 1,000, and so you decide that 500 rands I'm going to take each and every month and I'm going to put towards my savings with Time Bank. You create a goal in there, and then each and every month you just hoy in that 500 rands. Or let's say, for instance, you are already saving towards your emergency fund, and so you go back and you say, okay, from the money that I'm putting towards my emergency fund each and every month, I'm going to add 500 rands towards this so that I get to my goal quicker. There are many ways to do this. You don't have to like stretch yourself, but all I'm saying here is avoid getting into yourself in things like stokvels. You know, strict stokvels whereby they say if you do not contribute this month, we're going to charge you this much, because there are months whereby things are not going to be the same and you're not going to have the same disposable income. If you don't have the same disposable income and you've committed yourself in stokvels like that, or in financial products like that, then you are going to end up incurring penalties because you will not be able to pay in that month. And so you want to find something that is more so flexible, because here we're talking of disposable income as it pertains to that month and how that month went for you. And so those are the 5 places that I would really suggest that you look into as you do your payday routine, just to make sure that you're on top of your finances, that you achieve your goals, and that you work towards achieving your goals, and just have a healthy financial outlook when it comes to your finances. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. With that being said, I'll see you on the next one. Please take care and stay safe. Bye. Someone tell me